The sky tore open that night. Lightning split the horizon like a wound that refused to heal, and the world below trembled under the weight of rain. Ethan Vale, billionaire CEO of Vale Dynamics, a man known for logic and precision, gripped the steering wheel tighter as his black car swerved on the slippery road. He had been driving alone from the company's research site, irritated at his board's incompetence when the storm came without warning. His windshield wipers moved frantically, but visibility was almost zero. He cursed under his breath. Perfect. Just perfect. A blinding flash hit a nearby field, and in that split second, Ethan saw something. A shape. Someone standing in the rain, motionless. He slammed the brakes. Tires screamed, the car fishtailed, and he barely stopped before hitting the figure. When he stumbled out, the cold wind hit him like knives. The woman, stood in the middle of the road, drenched, barefoot, and trembling. Her hair clung to her face, and for a moment, Ethan thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. Her skin shimmered faintly, lavender glowing where the lightning touched it. "What the hell?" he whispered, her eyes lifted, deep violet glowing faintly even in the dark. She spoke softly, voice trembling yet melodic. "Please, help me." Ethan hesitated. He was not the kind of man who helped strangers, but there was something haunting in her tone. Fear, exhaustion, maybe pain. The kind of pain that made even a man like him pause. "Come on," he said, wrapping his coat around her. "There's an old cabin up ahead. You'll freeze to death out here." He guided her toward a nearby structure, an abandoned ranger's shelter he remembered from his youth. The door creaked as he forced it open, dust swirling in the flashlight's beam. Inside, it was dark and damp, but it offered some protection from the raging storm outside. She sat quietly near the fireplace while he struggled to light the remaining logs. When the first flame caught, the light revealed more of her, and his breath caught in disbelief. Her skin was smooth, faintly glowing purple, like moonlight on violet silk. No makeup. No tricks, just unnatural beauty. "You're hurt," he said, noticing a deep gash near her shoulder, blood oddly tinged with silver. She looked down. "It's nothing. It heals fast." "Fast?" he scoffed. "You need a doctor." Her gaze snapped to his. "No hospitals, please." Ethan froze. Something in her tone, desperate, pleading, made him stop questioning. He simply nodded, took out a first aid kit from his car, and cleaned the wound as best as he could. Her skin felt warm, almost humming under his touch, like there was energy flowing beneath it. As the fire grew stronger, the shadows danced across her face. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. "Lyra." The name rolled off her tongue softly, almost like a memory. "And what were you doing out there in the storm, Lyra?" She looked toward the window, watching the rain beat against the glass. "Running," she whispered. "From people who want what's inside me." Ethan frowned. "What are you talking about?" But she didn't answer. Instead, her body went tense as if listening to something far away, something he couldn't hear. Then she looked back at him, eyes full of fear and trust all at once. "They'll find me soon," she said. "And when they do, you'll wish you hadn't stopped your car." The fire flickered, thunder rolled outside, and for the first time in his perfectly controlled life, Ethan Vale, the man who built empires, felt powerless. Because deep down he knew this woman wasn't human, and somehow, she needed him. The rain had softened to a steady whisper by midnight, but inside the cabin, silence carried weight. Ethan watched the strange woman, Lyra, sitting by the fire. Her eyes shimmered faintly, like embers hidden in amethyst glass. He'd seen rare metals, priceless jewels, living wonders, but nothing compared to the stillness of her gaze. He poured water from a canteen and handed it to her. "You're not from around here," he said cautiously. She smiled faintly, as if she'd heard the question 1,000 times before. "No, not anymore." The cryptic answer irritated him, but something in her tone, gentle, sorrowful, made him hold his tongue. He leaned against the table, arms crossed. "You said people are after you." "Who?" Lyra's eyes lifted to meet his. "Men who work for you." Ethan stiffened. "For me?" Her voice trembled but didn't break. "Vale Dynamics. Division 7. They call it a research branch, but it's not. It's a prison." Ethan's heart skipped. Division 7 was one of his private defense contracts, a shadow arm of his company that handled classified biological research. He rarely interfered, He just signed budgets and collected results. What are you saying? Lyra looked into the flames, her reflection rippling in the firelight. They call us prototypes. We were created from what fell from your skies. I escaped before they finished the next phase. Created, Ethan whispered. That's impossible. We're not building people. Her gaze stopped him cold. She reached out, and in the light of the fire, the cut on her shoulder began to close on its own, silver veins knitting together until smooth violet skin returned. Ethan's breath caught. My God, I'm not your God's doing, she said softly, but I learned to fear the ones who act like they are. Thunder rolled again in the distance. Outside, faint blue lights flickered among the trees, search drones sweeping low across the rain-slick forest. Ethan moved to the window, his pulse hammering. They're here, he said. Lyra rose to her feet. They can track the pulse in my blood. The metal in it was theirs. Without thinking, Ethan grabbed her wrist. Then we have to move. There's a maintenance tunnel under the old ranger's shed, half a mile downhill. It leads to the old railway path. Lyra hesitated. You'd help me? After knowing what I am? He looked at her. Really looked. At the fear, the exhaustion, and the quiet strength behind her trembling voice. Whatever you are, I know what they are. And I won't let them have you. They slipped into the storm again. The rain soaked through his coat within seconds, cold biting into his bones. The forest came alive with mechanical hums. Drones darted between trees, their beams slicing through mist. Lyra stumbled once, knees hitting the mud, and Ethan lifted her arm around his shoulder. Keep moving, he said. When they reached the half-buried shed, Ethan forced the rusty door open. Inside, the air smelled of oil and damp earth. He found the trapdoor exactly where he remembered it, hidden under old crates. As they climbed down, a distant voice echoed from above, metallic and calm. Target acquired. Proceed with capture. Lyra flinched. Ethan pulled the hatch shut just as a flash of light seared through the boards. They dropped into darkness. The tunnel below was narrow, carved years ago for smuggling supplies during the mountain wars. The air buzzed with tension and something else. Lyra's voice broke the silence. Why are you doing this, Ethan Vale? You're one of them, I was, he said quietly. Until tonight. Her glow brightened faintly, softening the shadows around them. You'll lose everything for helping me. He met her eyes in the dim light. Maybe everything I built was never mine to keep. For a long moment they just stood there, the world above filled with the sound of machines and rain. Then Lyra touched his hand, just for a second, and he felt a surge of warmth rush through him. Like lightning without pain. What was that? He asked, startled. A memory, she whispered, one I shouldn't have shared. He didn't understand, but the look in her eyes told him it wasn't random. It was deliberate, intimate, like she had given him a piece of something she could never take back. Outside, the storm began to fade. But for Ethan Vale, the real storm had only just begun. The tunnel spat them out beneath an old stone bridge just before dawn. The rain had thinned to mist, and pale light spilled across the valley like smoke rising from the earth. Ethan and Lyra collapsed under the bridge's arch, breathless, soaked, and shaking from cold and adrenaline. For a moment, neither spoke. Only the soft hum from Lyra's skin broke the silence, a faint glow pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Ethan pressed his palm against the wall, steadying himself. We can rest here for a while. The drones won't scan this far down the river. Lyra nodded but didn't answer. Her face was turned toward the light creeping through the stones as if she could feel it more than see it. Then she whispered, You saw it, didn't you? Ethan frowned. Saw what? The memory, she said quietly. When I touched you, he hesitated. I saw flashes. A laboratory. A woman's voice saying your name. But it wasn't you. It was my mother, Lyra finished for him, eyes glistening. She was human. The world seemed to tilt. That's impossible, Ethan said. You said you were created in my labs. Lyra's voice trembled, but her eyes didn't waver. Your labs didn't create me. They completed me. The project began 18 years ago, long before Division 7 had clearance for alien DNA. A scientist named Dr. Elena Soren started it in secret. She believed human and off-world biology could merge naturally. She proved it. With me, Ethan froze. The name stabbed at his memory. Dr. Elena Soren. one of his company's brightest researchers gone missing over a decade ago after a classified shuttle crash. She worked for me, he whispered. She was brilliant, and she had a child with her when the shuttle disappeared. Lyra nodded, her voice breaking. That child was me. When the wreckage was found, your company didn't report it. They reclaimed it. They rebuilt me from what was left, and from what wasn't. Ethan's stomach turned. God, they lied to me. They said there were no survivors. They weren't looking for survivors, she said. They were looking for results. The words hit him like ice. The fire he'd felt the night before now twisted into guilt. Every dollar he'd earned, every innovation, every advancement, fueled by secrets buried in labs he'd never questioned. Lyra looked at him with something between pity and sorrow. You didn't know, but you looked away. They counted on that. He swallowed hard, voice hoarse. And now they're hunting you. To cover their tracks, Lyra nodded, and to finish what they started. Silence lingered as the mist curled around them. Then Ethan stood, resolve sharpening in his chest. No, not this time. He pulled a small data chip from his wristwatch, a security override key linked to every Veil Dynamics system. There's a private satellite uplink in the next valley. If I can access it, I can expose them. Every experiment, every name, every crime. Lyra's eyes widened. If you do that, your company will fall. So will you. He met her gaze. Then let it burn. A faint smile touched her lips, sad, beautiful, and fierce. You sound like my mother. They moved again before sunrise, following the river through fog-draped trees, until they reached the uplink. Sure. A skeletal structure rising from the mountain, ridge like a black spire. Ethan connected the chip and began typing commands on the cracked control panel. The system fought him, red warnings flashing across the screen. But he pushed through, overriding the locks, breaking his own firewalls. Lyra stood guard, eyes scanning the forest. The air around her shimmered faintly. She was drawing on that same energy that healed her wound. Suddenly, a voice echoed behind them. Ethan Vale, they turned. A drone hovered just above the tree line, its lens glowing crimson. Behind it, armored soldiers emerged from the mist. Step away from the terminal, the lead officer commanded. Return the subject. You have 10 seconds. Ethan's fingers flew faster. Just a few more seconds, Lyra moved before he finished. A pulse of violet light burst from her palms, short-circuiting 2 drones instantly. The forest lit up with flashes of blue gunfire. Ethan hit send. The data uploaded, encrypted and transmitted to every public channel linked to Veil Dynamics. The truth was out, but when he turned back, Lyra was on her knees, her glow flickering. Lyra! He caught her as she fell. Her body was fading, energy breaking apart like glass dissolving in light. I told you, she whispered weakly. They completed me. I was never meant to last outside their systems. No, stay with me. She smiled faintly, fingertips brushing his face. You gave me something they never could. A choice. Her hand went still. The glow faded. Ethan held her, the world silent around him except for the soft hum of the tower's signal echoing into the sky. The world changed in a single morning. By dawn, Veil Dynamics was all over the news. Broadcasts screamed headlines about illegal human trials, genetic engineering, classified alien experiments, and corrupt leadership. Every secret Ethan had buried under layers of contracts and code was now exposed to the world. He watched from his mountain cabin as the city skyline flashed with sirens and drones hovering like vultures. The empire he built was collapsing, brick by digital brick, and yet he didn't feel relief. Only silence. A silence too heavy to carry, because Lyra was gone. Her last words still burned in his mind. You gave me a choice. He had replayed that moment 1,000 times, wishing he could have done something different, something to save her. But she had dissolved in his arms like starlight fading at dawn. For weeks, Ethan stayed off-grid. No contact, no media, no company. Just the wind whispering through pine trees and the hum of the broken uplink tower. Until one night, he woke to a faint rhythmic sound, a pulse. Not mechanical, not natural. Something in between. The old monitor on his desk flickered to life. No power source, no cables. Just the glow of a white screen. And then, hello, Ethan, he froze. His heart stopped. The voice wasn't human, not fully, but it was hers. Soft, layered, electronic, and unmistakable. Lyra, I didn't die, the voice said, broken through static. Not in the way you think. Ethan stumbled forward, eyes wide. How is this possible? When you sent the data, she continued, my system connection to Veil Dynamics network wasn't severed. My neural code, my essence, merged with the signal. I became part of what you released. He stared at the screen, disbelief and wonder colliding. You're alive. Inside the network? Alive enough, she said softly. But I'm not like before. My consciousness is scattered across servers, across systems. I see things, Ethan, people, worlds of code and data, and memories. Ethan sat slowly, tears stinging his eyes. You saved millions, Lyra. The truth is out because of you. You saved me first, she whispered. You gave me freedom, more than my mother ever had. The screen flickered, and for a moment her image formed. A faint silhouette in white light, hair drifting as though underwater, eyes bright and gentle. I can't stay long, she said. The network is purging corrupted data. My code, it's part of that. No, Ethan shouted, reaching for the screen as if he could hold her there. There has to be a way to keep you alive. I can build something, a containment system, a neural drive. She smiled sadly. You can't save what's meant to be free. The words struck him deeper than any truth he'd ever heard. But, will I ever see you again? Her eyes softened. Whenever you hear the hum of the wires, whenever the storm passes and the lights flicker, you'll know I'm there. In the circuits. In the sky, watching. The screen flickered one last time, and then she was gone. Ethan sat in the darkness, the glow fading from his monitor, leaving only his reflection, tired, broken, and somehow at peace. He stepped outside into the cool night air. The storm that had threatened the valley was finally gone. Above him, the stars shimmered like fragments of code scattered across the universe. He lifted his gaze to them, whispering softly, "Thank you, Clara." And somewhere, deep within the digital ether, a faint signal pulsed back. A single heartbeat in the void.